let's go ahead and go over your inequalities test. After I highlighted, I was so impressed. Some of y'all did so much better the second go around. But let's see if we missed it the second time and make corrections on it. So please write it down, even if you have to write it over off to the side and start over. So first, this is an addition problem. The x and the 7 have a plus sign in between. So you subtract from both sides. You have to write it twice. The inequality does not change because it is still just subtraction. So when you solve this, you could form a line right here, and you bring it down, and what you get is the x comes down, the inequality comes down, and you solve that, and you get a -2. Remember, this is subtraction. You have to subtract those two because they're different signs, and you keep the sign of the larger. To graph it over here, you have the -2 as your final answer. It is an open circle because there's no equal sign. So it's an open circle, and it travels to the left because x is less than, meaning left, less than the -2. Okay, for number 2. This right here means multiplication. So that b, because there's no sign in between, means it's being multiplied by a -5. The opposite are these fraction bars for dividing by -5. So you have to write divide by -5 2 times. Now once you get that, you draw the line there, and then the bottom part is solving it. So I don't draw the lines because it's not an algebra necessity. You just have to solve. So negative divided by -5 is 1, so that's your 1b. Your sign flips because this is -5s. And then a negative divided by a negative, when you solve the other side, is a +5. So over here, you're now at a +5. It's an open circle again because there's no equal to sign, and it travels less than because b is less than 5. Okay, number 3, this fraction bar means divide. So the opposite is multiplication. You write it in parentheses on both sides. Now this one needs to be written next to the y, and this one is written next to the -4 because you're multiplying those two numbers. You're dividing these two because that's the opposite. When you divide a 2 divided by 2, you got a 1, which is exactly what you needed right here. So you got the y. Do not flip the sign because these are positives. Those are +2's. Then you just multiply a negative times a positive is negative, and 4 times 2 is 8. So let's go over here. You have the -8 above it. It is a solid because it does have the equal to sign this time. And it says y is less than or equal to, meaning less than left, or equal to the -8. Okay, now we have two-step equations. In two-step equations, it's just that. We're going to have to add or subtract first, and then multiply or divide second. So in this case, we have an addition sign, so I'm going to have to subtract. And this is being multiplied, so I'm going to have to flip it and have that reciprocal on both sides. So first, let's do the subtraction. Right here, you put -8, -8. On this, you go ahead and solve at this point right here. So now you have your 2/5 a that comes down right here. This is now gone because 8 minus 8 is 0. And then you keep that inequality sign. And then 0 minus 8 is -8. -8. So then I have to get rid of this 2/5. To get rid of it, I do the reciprocal on both sides. Y'all did really well on writing that this time. So 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. So that's 1a. Keep that inequality the same because these are positives. So you do not flip that sign, so that is still greater than. Now you have to solve this. To solve this, this is actually multiplying these two. So that's -40, but don't forget to divide by 2, and that is -20. And that's where that -20 comes in. So a is greater than -20. That is right here. So graph it. You put the -20 here. Remember, they're increasing digits but decreasing in value going this way, and 0 is on this side. Now remember, you could have just put a -19 and a -21. That's fine. It doesn't matter which digits as long as they're spaced accordingly and they are going in the right direction. You can't have greater negatives going this way. Okay, so we have a -20. It is hollow because there's no equal sign, and A is greater than, meaning to the right. So you put your arrow going this way. Okay, number 5, the next one. This is a subtraction, so you know you're going to do addition. And this is multiplication because there's no digit or no operation between those two. So this is multiplying by a -2. So first, you add right here, add twice. So you have that, you could draw that line if you need to, right there. And then you just solve. You go ahead and take this and bring it down. Just copy it. This is gone, and you bring down that greater than sign. And this is now 30 on this side because you're solving it. Okay, now I got to get rid of this -2. So to get rid of that -2, I write my fraction bar on both sides. And I write divide by -2. Now circle your inequality on the way by, because remember, you have to flip it because you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So you get 1 right here, and you copy your y. Your greater than is now less than. 30 divided by a -2 is a -15. So to graph it, -15, I went and jumped to 0, and then over here, that would be a -30. Remember, just keep the spacing accurately. You could have done a -14 and a -16. Just make sure the digits get bigger this way, but that means the value of those are smaller. So you have a -15, open circle, and you go to the left for less than, because y is now less than a -15. Okay, let's go ahead and highlight or go through our wording. Carla, Ted, and Jose are raising money for a trip to Disneyland. If they've already raised this amount of money, so they already have that, $350, how much more does each of them need to raise to pay for their trip? And this is the amount of the trip. That's what it has to be. Okay, now we're writing and solving the inequality. Okay, so just like on our homework, you have to write that sentence also. That's part of your answer. So let's go through. If you have R, we're going to put R for our variable for money to raise. There's 3 of them, Carla, Ted, and Jose. So you got about 3 times people of raising that money. So each individual raises a certain amount of money, and you're going to multiply it by 3. You add what they've already have. And this side can be greater than, or it could be exactly $1,550. So that's on this side. But this is the greater than or equal to, because I can raise exactly $1,550. This side can be the smallest side. The munchie needs to eat this side because this side can be even $1,600. It could be $2,000 because we're not going to put a cap on how much they can raise. They can raise more than that. So to solve it, subtract from both sides what they already have. So 3 of them need to raise $1,200 more. Divide it by 3, and your R is greater than or equal to $400. Now go ahead and make sure you are writing the sentence. Each needs to raise $400 or more. You must put or more, or you could write each needs to raise at least $400, because that's what inequalities are all about. They're not equations. So they don't have to raise exactly $400. They can raise more than $400 and most likely will. Please be sure to review this and the inequalities review that looks exactly like it for practice before you show up next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday before school in room 104 in order to retest. Make sure, as always, to have the parent signature on your progress report stating that you have studied.